All right, welcome. I am Derrick Wali Anderson, and this is the first episode of Wired with Wali. I am excited to have you guys here today. We're going to be getting into a lot of stuff. First and foremost, if you don't know me, I'm Derrick Wali Anderson. I'm the founder of Dream with the Deadline. I am the host of this podcast. I am a hypnosis practitioner, and I'm all about serving, helping people, and adding value any and every way I can, right? And there's a few things that I believe in. I believe in obviously motivation and willpower fails. Like discipline, it can only take you so far, right? Because your life isn't shaped by discipline or motivation. It's shaped by the identity your mind believes you to be. And that is extremely important. So important that I wanted to kick off this podcast with this being the topic that we discuss because rewiring your mind and the systems that are running your life are more important than that little bit of habits that you do every single day. Because once you rewire your mind or wire your mind appropriately, those habits become automatic. And that's some of the things that I help people with being a hypnosis practitioner. A lot of people come to me for confidence issues or public speaking is a big one. But with the power of hypnosis and other tools like NLP, just to name a few, we can help you write those scripts that are running automatically in your mind. So I'm jumping all over the place already, right? So let me kind of get back on track. As you can see, as you can hear, I'm very, very excited to be here. I'm all about serving folks, and I want to do that to the best of my ability with the tools that I've been gathering along the way. Because people don't fail because of their lack of potential, and we see it too often. We see people falling short. We see people playing small, and what's important to know is they fail because their inner story hasn't been updated in quite some time. So they've been running the same systems with this new ambition. You may have ambition or aspirations to do bigger and better things, but that script of 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, you is still running in the background, right? And you may be in a position where you feel overwhelmed or you hit blocks like procrastination, which is something I speak heavily about. Also another plug for my book, and I don't feel shy about plugging that on, especially when what I do is geared towards certain people. So you're gonna hear me drop a bunch of plugs. I'm gonna talk about my book. I might talk about my wife's book because she's a mom to help other mothers out there. We're all about helping folks. As you can see in the background, I'm very, very proud. Right over my shoulder, that's my wife's book right there. I know this first episode, I'm jumping around. I promise you it's not always going to be like this, but it's a lot I want to cover. So you see over my left, that's my wife's book, Julia Anderson. It's called Motherhood. It's all about being a mom because, she's a girl mom. A lot of girls run around this house and they run the whole thing. So I might as well plug it. Another woman running around the house is my daughter, 16-year-old, right over here. She has a book also, Into the Flame. 16 years old, wrote her first book. So I'm going to salute my family every single time. So if that's not for you, unsubscribe, move along, and I'm gonna do my best to get on track. Here, I gotta let you guys know I'm all about serving people. I want to do it to the best of my ability. If opportunities come up, it may feel salesy. For me, it's sharing, especially if it can help people. And that's the name of the game at the end of the day. So I'm gonna get back on track. Bear with me. But again, you might hear a lot of that stuff, especially if something comes to mind and I feel like it helps somebody out there. I'm gonna share that all day long. All right. So what was it? I was talking about procrastination before I went off on that little tangent about my book. Never Wait for Monday, which is behind my wife's book, as you can see over my left shoulder. In that book, I talk about procrastination, which is something that I personally battled for years, like having big, grand ideas, but never taking the first step, never taking action, right? And action is the biggest proponent to change. I read something the other day, and they talked about how people are okay with progress and they want progress, but it's change that they have an issue with. And a large part of that change that people tend to shut down or procrastinate or be a little inconsistent is because their mind is not wired to accept change. Because our mind has two parts that are running day and night all day long, and that's the conscious mind and that is the subconscious mind. To give you a big picture of it, if you can just visualize this, if you can visualize, imagine, or pretend a big circle, and at the top of that circle, you have the conscious mind, which equates to about 12 to 15%, depending on who you talk to. 12% will say of your conscious mind handles things like analyzing, decision making, motivation, and most importantly, willpower. So, for example, willpower is something I have a real issue with because unless you're like David Goggins or somebody like that, willpower is going to be the thing that disappears when you need it the most. And one of my instructors taught me that over at HMI College. Big shout out to that school, doing a lot of great things, helping people like myself serve other people. And it was an instructor named Lisa Mockingbird who shared that willpower is often unavailable when you need it the most. So you don't want to rely on those things. You don't want to rely solely on your conscious mind. What you do want to focus on when you want change, when you want growth, when you want to be the best version of yourself, you want to focus on the subconscious mind. You hear my cat harassing me. What you want to focus on is the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind, those are habits that stick and they can stick with you long term. And if you did the math already, the subconscious mind equates to about 88% of your total mind's power. And the subconscious mind is where all the magic happens. And it's about 88% of your mind's total power. And over time, I would say, obviously, when you're born, the subconscious mind is there, something that we're all born with, guys. And also, when you're born, you have primitive instincts like fight and flight, which is something that you guys are probably familiar with. It's also freeze and a bunch of other ones that they just keep throwing in there. Subconscious mind controls that from inception. You know, inherently, all humans, they come with a fear of loud noises and a fear of falling. All those things are installed from birth, right? So as time goes on, to about 8, 9, 10 years old, you start to develop what's called the critical mind. And the critical mind is that buffer in between the conscious mind sitting up top at about 12, 15%, depending on who you talk to, and that subconscious mind that operates at about 88%, right? And what happens is over the years, you'll notice small children, they say they take in information really, really easily. So they're really suggestible is a term that we use in hypnosis. So it's easy for them to take on things, it's easy for them to learn things, and they take what you say very literal, like Easter Bunny, Santa Claus. And I'm whispering that because I kids here, Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, things like that. They take that literally. But when you get about 8, 9, 10, they start to question everything. Like, is this for real? Is Santa real? Or why do I have to do it that way? You don't do it like that. So they have questions for everything. And that's that critical mind developing. So they don't just take everything you say. They have questions about it. So that critical mind starts to develop at that age, and it becomes a filter between the conscious and the subconscious. So you just can't take everything that's said. That critical mind will take it and, based on what it decides, it's either gonna let it stay or send it away. And basically up to about 8 years old, you learn everything through associations, known associations. And everything within that subconscious mind, guys, is going to be considered a known association. For example, you may notice that kids like all the stuff that's bad for you that you can't eat when you're in your 40s, right? The cookies, the cakes, all those sweet treats that you love, those are in there as well. They're known associations. So they're in the subconscious mind. Also, inside our known associations is the things that you think are terrible as a child, but when you get older, you realize they're amazing, like the broccoli, the Brussels sprouts, right? So those are known associations. That's how we learn primarily through known associations and repetition, right? So known associations inside the subconscious mind is deemed as safe, whether you like them, right? Cookies, cream, cakes, all that sweet stuff that you can't eat no more because it's going to sit on you. And the other side, the broccoli, the Brussels sprouts, those are all known associations. So they reside inside the subconscious mind and they are deemed safe, whether you like them or not, because the mind is geared towards safety and they sit inside of the subconscious mind. But as time goes on, we talked about a little bit earlier, and I'm just taking you guys back. I don't want to make it too broad for you. I want you to be able to understand what I'm saying, at least at a high level. That critical mind develops at about age 8, 9, or 10. And then it's really hard for things to just come inside that subconscious mind because the critical mind is working, is doing its job. It's acting like a bouncer outside the club. You know, if you don't got the right dress code, that bouncer's going to say you ain't getting in. That's basically how the critical mind operates. And it takes a lot to get that critical mind to move aside and make these new thoughts or habits that we want and we work towards so hard to become a known association or something that the subconscious mind deems is safe. So with tools like hypnosis, NLP, some others, we, for a small amount of time, get the critical mind to step aside and bypass that filter, that bounce outside the club, and put those new habits, new thoughts, or what we call message units inside of the subconscious mind. to get you to make changes in your life a little more rapidly. You can see real transformation when you're able to do that effectively. I give you an example. I work with a few clients, and I'm never going to say anybody's names going forward. I'm probably just going to package people up. So I'll take like a few, 3 or 4 people and make them one person to just give you an idea of what I'm talking about. I've had people specifically talking about public speaking and the fear of it. Because if you guys aren't aware, public speaking is seen as worse than dying. That's something I struggle with sometimes because you think somebody's going to judge you or are judging you or a host of other reasons. But with hypnosis, self-hypnosis, which is something I'll get into a little bit later, I was able to get that critical mind to move out of the way, not just for myself, but for my clients as well. And this is living proof because a podcast is something I wouldn't have done 6 months ago. I've been thinking about doing a podcast for 6 years until I started to understand how the critical mind worked, the conscious mind, and the subconscious mind, and how powerful it is. Here I am today, shooting all kind of crazy content. This is not something I would have done 6 years ago or 6 months ago, but here I am today, and it's proof. I have other clients as well, same things, not wanting to post online for whatever reason. They have a product or service that's really valuable and they need to share, but just was apprehensive for any reason. But with hypnosis and using some other tools, able to get that critical mind to quiet down, step aside, and let these new thoughts and habits in, right? And it's important first when you going through any type of change or transformation, you want to be able to do a few things. You want to be able to name it. So speak to exactly what's going on, the transformation that you want, or the change that you want to see so you can have a big impact. Then you want to reframe it and make it look like something. Give you an example for me. I had ideas because at the core of me, I just want to serve people and do it at a high level. But the fear, it's like the fear, I want to say fear, really, I don't know if that's the best word, but we'll just roll with it. The thought of being in the spotlight out in the world, so to speak, with social media and how things can just be. It was just, for me, it was just something I didn't really want. But I learned over time, I can't get out there and help nobody if nobody knows who the heck I am. Does that make sense, guys? So a lot of time, visibility beats talent all day long. I'm going to say that again. Visibility beats talent. You could be the best in the world at what you do, helping people serve and add value. But if nobody knows you do it, it is pointless to have that talent or skill. And if I'm being honest, just me reframing it in a way that made sense to me was it's kind of selfish. So if I have a skill that can genuinely serve people and impact people's lives, and I'm not out there preaching the gospel, telling people about it, I'm being selfish. I'm not really out here to be a servant. If I can't share what it is that I'm going to do, that's going to have a positive impact on other people. So that's one way I reframed it. Like, I'm being scared to help people. I'm kicking back while messages that aren't positive, that aren't beneficial to folks are out there flying about. No, I can't do that. I can't have it. So that was one of the biggest things for me. First, name what's going on, reframe it, and last thing we probably can guess what it is, change it. Make that transformation so you can get out there and make an impact. At least that's what it was for me in my case. So that's very important, guys. Those 3 steps: name it first, reframe it so you can change it. Super important. Super important. And I'm going off on a tangent again. I started talking about procrastination, which is something I'm really passionate about because I feel that it's probably so many ideas out there that can have a positive impact on the world, but for whatever reason, they're not being shared. People are procrastinating, they have a fear of failure or a fear of success. Quick story about that. That's a real thing. Fear of success is a real thing. And I want to touch on that with you guys briefly, real quick, because that's something I also battle, a fear of success. It may sound crazy. Playing small, staying low key, because you don't want the attention, right? For myself personally, you don't want the attention. You don't want, being honest. I'm the type of person, like, I used to post stuff on social media and then not go on the app for a week because I didn't want to have to feel the burden of responding to people, right? I just didn't want that. And this is me being fully transparent with you guys. And back to the fear of failure, that's a real thing because initially when I heard it, and this is a few years ago, I thought like, man, who will be scared of success? I don't think it's the success that people fear or are afraid of or apprehensive about. It's what comes with it. For example, I can remember, and I'm not going to share too much because I don't want nobody to feel a certain way. So I will leave these stories um, relatively generic, right? I can remember there was a point in my life where things were looking really well for me, looking really well, looking up. I'm starting my family off. Um, had some ups and downs, some struggles, some turmoils, which is part of it, guys. We all on an adventure called life. It's part of it. Ups and downs are totally normal. It's how you learn and transform. Whatever it looks like, I'm for it. If I'm gonna learn and be better from it and be able to take myself to the next level, I'm all for it. But it was a moment in my life where I was doing well, and I was excited to be around folks I haven't seen in a while, right? And I don't want to give too much. And this happened to me several times. And it's like, yeah, we happy to see you and all that stuff, but I need something from you. Well, what can I get from you? Instead of like being genuinely happy. And I don't say this to judge people because we all in different spots in my life, in their lives. Everybody's in a different place in their life. But certain conversations with certain folks and I didn't notice this till recently, had a major impact on how I move. Do I post the good things in my life, right? Do I share all that out of fear of like people hitting me up asking for money? Not that I'm not a giving person, but I don't want to be in a situation where I'm funding somebody else's lifestyle when I have my own responsibilities. And that's just me being fully transparent. I'm a kind person. I'm a giving person, very generous, but it's also a part that's like, I'm responsible for what I'm responsible for. At the end of the day, we all have responsibilities. And it got to a place where I'm receiving too many messages like, yo, XYZ, something happened, or I need this, I need that. It's just like, man, like I don't even want to talk to people. I don't even want to open my phone. I don't even want to share the great things and the blessings that God has given me. Cause I don't want people ask me for I don't want to say handout because that's gonna sound cruel, but I don't want to have people hit me up. It didn't feel right. It didn't sit right on my spirit because, like I said, we all have responsibilities, and that's your journey, not mine. And I don't want to say that in a cruel way. If I come across people who are in need, obviously I did, but nobody wants to be taken advantage of, and I don't want to be responsible for things I'm not responsible for because a lot of time I don't share like really like good, bad, you know, challenges I have going on because those are mine to bear. So if my kids got stuff going on, I'm not gonna be on social media crying about it because I made those kids. It's like they're my responsibility. If a sudden, I don't know, a bill or a ticket or a file or anything comes up, that's mine to bear. So I need to figure it out. And a lot of times I expect people to have that same energy instead of saying like, yo, Wali, XYZ, I expect people to figure it out, or at least be consistent. Because if you're the type of person, and it's a few people in my life that are like this, the type of person who come up, who hit it big and will hit you up like, hey man, XYZ just happened to me. How you doing? How the girls doing? You need some? Like it's people in my life who are like that. So for those kind of people, all good. Like they actually involved in your life. My brothers are like that. My dad was like that, rest his soul. A lot of my and it sounds crazy to say friends are like that. A lot of my brothers from another mother are like that. My senses like that, Algier like that. They would reach out just like, hey, you good? Everything all right? And it's just like, yeah, what made you ask? Oh, nah, I'm not going to say no names, but I just got X amount raised, or I just got this, and this, and they'll reach out. And it's just like, stuff like that is like, it's love. So no problem, reciprocating that energy. But it's just, if you just reaching out because you want something, it would do something to me. It would make me see you in a different way. And I don't want to be like that. I don't want that on my heart. I've had a fear of success for some time, and I, was finally able to break that through. I think subconsciously I had this thing where I would go here, and then back here, and up, and then back a little bit, like 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of deal, making it slowly. But since I released that and I worked on that because I was aware of it, things have been working out well. God's been opening up the floodgates, and I'm blessed. I'm grateful for that. So that's something that I want to point out to you guys because I don't know what you're struggling with, but if you take those 3 steps, you can turn it around. First, you have to name it, you have to reframe it, and then you can change it. Right? It's super important. Super important. And again, I'm trying to get back to procrastination because it's heavy on my heart. It's something I want to talk about. People who procrastinate, they can get into a place where they feel like they're broken. But it's nothing wrong with you. It's nothing at all wrong with you. It's just that your mind is running a system, an outdated system that may not serve you anymore. So that's what it boils down to. And this podcast itself exists to help people correct that. That's something I'm really passionate about. I heard Denzel say something a while ago. Denzel Washington, the GOAT actor. He said something a long time ago. I think it was either him or Les Brown. I could be getting them confused. I love a lot of what they have to say. It basically said they told a story about a man at his deathbed or on his deathbed in the hospital, and surrounding his bed was all of the dreams and ideas that he didn't fully execute. And when I heard that story, I was like, dang, I could imagine like, being, at a ripe old age and on my deathbed, so to speak, and seeing all the things that I should have, could have, would have did. Man, that hit me so hard. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it just made me feel like I just can't allow myself to end up in that situation, especially when I could do something about it. And it's not about being the smartest person. It's about just taking action. What can you take action? Make it practical, make it real, and just don't stop. Continue to execute. Continue to execute. And that's one of the reasons that I'm doing this podcast. I want to help people get over that proverbial hump and get out there and accomplish some good things and help other people impact their lives in a positive way, right? And this is not hype, guys. This is not positive thinking. This is rewiring your identity, and the work happens underneath your conscious mind, that critical mind that we talked about. It happens underneath in your subconscious mind. And obviously, I'm going to plug away because I can help with that. So if you got any questions, you got things you'll work on, whether it be confidence, public speaking, that's anxiety, even smoking cessation. I'm certified to help people stop smoking, which uh, it's a nasty habit, guys. I'm just call it what it is. I can remember, God rest her soul. I can remember my grandmother Jackie. She smoked. And she passed away. It had to be about 20 years now. When she passed away, oof, it hit me like a ton of bricks, ma. When she passed away, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Ton of bricks. Like that was like for me, that was the biggest loss that I ever felt at that time. The biggest loss. And it kind of wrecked me. I changed how I was moving. I started to become a person who I think I was young. I was definitely young already, but mentally, I started to do some things I wouldn't naturally do because it was the grief and it was the guilt. And I'll tell you why I had guilt and why I got certified to help people quit smoking. I can remember coming home. This is when I was in the Navy. I was stationed in Washington, D.C. on Bolin Air Force Base. Born and raised New Jersey. I would come home very often on the weekends because it was just about like a short bus ride from DC. And, I would always go see my grandmothers, both of them. I had my grandmother, shout out to my grandmother right there. My grandmother, Dorothy, lived in Plainfield, and my grandmother, Jackie, lived in Plainfield. Let me put that out there. Shout out to my grandmother. Love you, grandma. But my other grandmother, she lived in Newark, New Jersey. So anytime I came home from DC, I would always go back and forth and go see my grandmothers for sure. I would always do that. My grandmother, Jackie, man, she smoked. She smoked, right? So, of course, at this time, if I'm being real, living in North, you probably can always buy cigarettes and just, you walk in, got a post, I'm sure they give you cigarettes. But she used to ask me to go to the store to get her cigarettes. So I would go to the store, get her cigarettes. Of course, at this time, I got money. So at first it was like, yeah, grandma, I go to the store, get you whatever you want. My little Navy check, get you whatever you want. But then I realized, man, like smoking is like not good. So I went from like, all right, grandma, I go to the store, get you whatever you want when I would come back home and see her. And then it went to, oh, grandma, I'm gonna leave the money right here for you. And I would just leave because I didn't want to buy the cigarettes for her. But anyway, when she passed away, it hit me hard. It hit me hard and it made me think like, man, was it because she was smoking? Because I never really knew all of the stuff that she had going on, but was it because of the cigarettes? And if it was it my fault? Should I have been saying, no, grandma, you should quit? So I had all these feelings of guilt. And I don't think I've ever shared that with anybody. So it's weird even saying it out loud. I had all these feelings with guilt when my grandmother passed. Long story short, I turned my life upside down for a minute. I was not the best version of myself, especially at that age, making a lot of irrational decisions, trying to handle that grief and that guilt. And of course, I met my wife, started our family, and things started to progress. But after that happened, up until from when my grandmother passed to me and my wife, like things were very, very different for me. I'll just say that. But again, that was a tangent from the fact that I can help people stop smoking. Okay. So I'm eventually going to get back on track and talk about what I'm here to talk about. And that is um, getting over the hump of procrastination, because most people don't fail because they lack potential. They fail because their inner story stopped being updated while their ambitions were growing. So you may have the ambition to go out there and do bigger and better things, but you're still working off of your script from 5 years ago inside your mind that's constantly running. So you feel that friction, you feel overwhelmed, you become inconsistent, procrastinate, you shut down. And it's all because of that version of your mind hasn't been updated yet. And your mind is doing its job, is keeping you safe, because that's his subconscious mind's job, to keep you safe. So this next level, like I shared with you earlier, is an unknown, right? So it's going to be extremely challenging to get this new idea, these new habits and behaviors inside, so you can start being that person and it feel automatic. Because we talked about your critical mind and how it pretends or it acts as that bouncer outside the club, right? So your mind is trying to protect you, trying to keep you safe. Yeah, you may feel that it's healthier for you to go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, but if you haven't been doing that, it is unknown and it is deemed unsafe. So the critical mind is going to toss it out of there, and it's going to be hard for you to be that person. It's going to be extremely challenging. So goals and everything can only go so far, right? It's all about your identity and who you believe you are. And that's where real change happens. I'm not sure if you guys read the book Atomic Habits, but it talks a lot about identity and how identity is the best step forward, right? And again, hypnosis can help with that, because it's not about who you want to be, it's about who the mind believes that you are. Because your subconscious is going to choose what feels safe, normal, and predictable long before you make the decision to take that new action. Because if your identity believes it's hard for me to be consistent, or, I really can't trust myself, then your behavior will match that belief, even when your conscious mind wants something different. And today, or going forward, we want to challenge the identity, and we want to create space for a new one that best serves you and your current ambitions, not past ambitions, current ambitions. Because there were moments years ago when I didn't realize I didn't need more motivation. I just needed a new identity taking the wheel. It was times where I would sit in this office and I would just think about some of the goals that I felt that I had the capacity to achieve, but I wouldn't take a step. And it wasn't because I was weak or incapable. It was because I was trapped in that old image or that old ambition. And those moments, so many of them, pushed me into a spot of honestly reflecting on myself, where I am, how I came to be this way, and how I arrived at this destination in my life. And it made me really reflective, like really challenging everything that I've done to that point. And I also started looking into more ways to help myself become that best person, to help myself feel more comfortable with speaking, to be more social, to talk to folks, to engage more. And it really started with me, guys, when I started my training for hypnotherapy, started working on my identity. It started, I would say, restructuring the way my mind handles things, information, ideas, and just wanted to really, truly recondition my subconscious. When I understood it, I understood the subconscious mind and how the mind works. I understood why I kept hitting walls. Why I would start, why I would start something, get about 80, 90% finished, and then go do something else. Once I understood that, I felt like I had all the power back that I took for myself, right? Because when you update your identity, the behavior follows automatically. And that's what we're going to be talking about here. Through the use of the tools of hypnosis and NLP, right? It's super important, because your identity drives everything you do. Your identity filters your options before your conscious mind even sees them. It decides what's possible, what's familiar, what's safe, what's too much, was not you, because you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity every single time. It never fails. So today, I want to give you guys a tool, a guided process to see your thoughts from the outside, a moment where you can loosen up on your identity and your mind becomes available for change that's going to help you get to that next level with yourself. This tool is one of the most powerful ways to open up a stuck mind. It blends things like the Socratic method is something I've been studying, Brian Katie's The Work, and also a method that I picked up probably a few months ago during my training, which is called the Paris window. And I'm gonna just call mine the North window because I was born and raised in North. So I want you guys to really quickly take a deep breath and kind of settle in. Put your feet flat on the floor, hands on your lap. I want you to go ahead and first take a real big deep breath. I'm going to teach you a process called the 336 method. It's a breathing technique to relax you. Extremely powerful because it's going to relax the parasympathetic system and allow these new thoughts and this change to take place, right? So what you do is you do 3 sets of these, repetitions because the mind learns through 2 ways mainly, association and repetition. So we're going to do 3 reps of this right here. All right. So inhale through your nose for 3 seconds, hold it for 3 seconds, and then exhale for 6 seconds. Do that 3 times, and I'll give you guys a minute so you guys just settle in, get nice and relaxed, nice and comfortable, and just allow this change to take place. So go ahead and start this 336 method. I'll give you guys a few seconds here. 1, 2, 3. Hold. 2, 3. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, inhale. 1, 2, 3. Hold. 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, 1, 2, 3. Hold. 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. All right. Good to go. You guys are probably really, really relaxed right now. And keep you guys informed. Anytime that I switch gears and do any sort of hypnotic techniques, please don't do it if you're driving, operating heavy machinery, because we want you to be safe at all times. So only move forward with the exercise if you're somewhere seated and you can relax and just take a minute to yourself to just breathe, because we're going to create real change inside your mind right now. This part, for example, is not going to be hypnosis. It's just going to be some perspective work, a chance to really clean out any systems that no longer serve you, right? But it can definitely shift your identity faster than just grinding out with goal settings and things like that, right? But I just want to give you that disclaimer. Anytime we do any hypnosis work, I want you to be safe, right? So if you can, just go ahead and close your eyes. If you can, if it's safe for you, relax your shoulders, unclench your jaw, give yourself 10 seconds with your eyes closed of complete honesty. Now I want you to imagine a window, simple window with 4 panes. Each pane shows a different perspective on a problem that you're carrying right now. Just one problem, not the biggest problem in the world, just one that is pulling at you right now. Go ahead and visualize, imagine, or pretend that window with 4 panes of a problem that's knocking at you right now. Now, I want you to picture the first pane. It shows your interpretation of the current situation. Now, I want you to ask yourself a few quick, simple questions. Is it true? Don't rush yourself. Just let your mind internally answer that question for yourself. Good. Now go ahead and ask yourself the second question. The second pen, can I absolutely know that this is true? Notice any hesitation. Keep in mind that hesitation is the doorway. This is where the identity begins to loosen. That was the first pane of the window. Now I want you to shift your attention to the second pane of the window. This represents the other person or the circumstance itself. Ask yourself, how might they be experiencing this moment? You don't need to rush to justify. Just explore that angle. It could be another person, just another perspective in that second pane, depending on what that problem is that's eating at you right now. Now ask yourself, can I absolutely know I'm right about this situation or what that person did? Feel the tension soften, because when certainty dissolves, possibilities appear. Now, your feelings about their viewpoint, pain 3. This pain is where the emotional truth lives. Ask yourself, how do I react when I believe my initial thought? How does it change your breathing, your posture, your tone, your sense of power? Now ask yourself, go a little bit deeper. Who would I be without that thought? Let that question open up more and more, all on its own, no pressure. Just want to explore what's possible. Now, for the last painting, we want to talk about a new perspective. Find the piece of the puzzle. How do we integrate? Because this is the doorway to the identity you're becoming. Take the original thought and gently turn it around. The opposite to the person that's involved, if there's a person involved, to yourself. Find one genuine example for each, not forced, just true enough to soften your old interpretation. Now ask yourself, what identity would hold this new interpretation effortlessly? Not the you who's been fighting, defending, or bracing, but the you who already lives with clarity, confidence, and calm. Now picture yourself standing in front of you. Notice how that person breathes, how they choose, how their inner voice sounds. That's the operator we're installing through this work. Hold that calm, confident person in your mind for one breath. This is the identity being updated, which is necessary for your future success. Now take one big deep breath. Come on back, eyes open, wide awake. Come back gently, opening your eyes if they were closed. What you experienced was a small piece, the first step in rewiring identity, not through force, but through perspective, clarity, and truth. Your mind cannot stay the same after seeing itself from four different angles. That window becomes a permanent tool you can use, as well as that 336 breathing technique. Anytime your identity collapses into an old, outdated story. This is the work that reshapes your entire life going forward for you becoming that best version of yourself. Because change does not start with behavior, it starts with identity. And you do that when you interpret behavior. You are no longer acting from history, you're responding from potential. Keep this frame close. I'm updating the system that creates my positive results. That line removes all the shame, removes all the pressure, and it gives you your power back. Every moment becomes an opportunity to return to an updated operator, because these outdated operators or these old patterns, they repeat themselves, and it doesn't have your best interest at heart, because behavior follows belief. And I want you to understand how to create mental clarity on demand so you can upgrade your identity at will and shape new decisions and new outcomes for yourself. In every single episode, we're going to be offering the tool, a way to shift, or a moment that's going to open up your mind again. This is identity engineering designed to help you become the person that hits their goals effortlessly, and it feels automatic. Because I know many of you, like I have, spent years trying to think differently, do differently, and now you're learning how you can actually be different, because it's always going to be identity before action, the operator before the outcome, perspective before progress, right? So this is what you have to look forward to coming forward in the days, months, and weeks. We have a lot of stuff planned, a lot of guests that I'm going to be bringing on. And in the next episode, we're going to be exploring how your subconscious sets your normal, how to break out from old identities that no longer serve you and step into that next best version of yourself. So I'm Derrick Wali Anderson. This is Wired with Wali. I'm excited to be here to serve and add value to you guys and enlighten what I can. Any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on all social media platforms, Derrick Wali Anderson, or just shoot me an email, Derrick@dreamwithadeadline.com, or you can always just visit the website, dreamwithadeadline.com. I'm here to serve, guys. I'm happy to help. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Have a great rest of your day. Be good, everybody.